What up, though, people? Welcome back. It is Wake Up Woodward and Flannel Sam. I think the people, all of us, are going to have to understand and learn how to be a fan of a Pistons team now that has playoff expectations. Yeah. This is a squad that has transcended and gotten here to a much quicker point. A lot of the people who are supporting, a lot of people who are detracting, and none of us, I didn't see too many, expected us to be at this point anyway to start the season. But now that you're here, I'm glad that, like JB Bickerstaff, he's like, no, we're going to definitely look at what this means to be here in the playoffs and everything that we accomplished this season. But whenever you have a job to accomplish, you want to be successful, and we want to win in this series. And when you heard him after the game, he was very calm and with his demeanor and just saying, hey, listen, now we got a taste of what it actually means to kind of be in this thing, and I do believe our guys are going to respond better. Cade Cunningham, man, that is just basketball. And we've seen him have a lot of good basketball games in Madison Square Garden. But Willie B, you brought up something pretty interesting when you said you want to see a little bit more out of Jalen Duren. And when you look at something here, there was something that I said to JB Bickerstaff as related to Isaiah Stewart. And it was a piggyback in particular on someone who had just asked him prior, like, what are you going to do with this rotation? Because you got some energy guys here off this bench that make a difference. Are you looking at kind of turning those minutes up? And I went and nailed it in even more on Isaiah Stewart. And I said, look, I get it. A career low 19 minutes a game. But this guy is average. He's gotten his career highs across the board in efficiency, shooting the ball, in stocks, assists, and games played. Are you going to turn his minutes up now? So when you want more out of Duren, I think it has to start by JB Bickerstaff giving him more too. JB Bickerstaff, when you look at how the box score lines up in the minutes, Jalen Duren got 25 minutes. Asar Thompson got 23 minutes. And Isaiah Stewart, like clockwork, only got 19 minutes. I do believe that part of the recipe is making sure that those guys can see an increase in minutes and having a better effect on this team, a better chance to get in the rhythm. Now, what was the one common thread between all of them?
Foul trouble.
Foul trouble. And this was one of the things that I talked about before the series with Duren, Stu, and Asar. Why I was hesitant to say, all right, Asar is going to be that X factor, even though we know he can play a big role for us, is because of foul trouble. The type of roles that he's going to play and the types of players that the front court players are going to guard puts them in a position to get a little too handsy if they're not moving their feet well enough. And this is where they have to be better in game 2, staying out of foul trouble and keeping yourself in a position to make sure you don't piss off Willie B. All right? Because you're right. We all talked about Jalen Duren before the season. Even Rod Beard almost gave in and said maybe he is our second most impactful player. What we know is this: no matter if he's second, third, or fourth, we still need Jalen Duren to be that guy that we all believed, hey, maybe we see him be 17 points, 13 boards, and 3 or 4 stocks per game. We need that Jalen Duren because that's what helped get this Detroit Pistons to where we are right now. And it's another thing, the connections, like the lob connections, the pick and roll connections. The Pistons are one of the best teams at that in half court. Don't allow the New York Knicks to dictate the pace and the tempo for you when all year this team has done that to other squads.
Yeah, I only really saw the 2-man game with Cade and Duren once, and it was nice. That one lob was nice, and I know we were all pumped, and of course we thought that it would be one of the things that carried them to a Game 1 victory. Unfortunately, it did not happen. With Isaiah Stewart, I'm actually fine with the way he played. I've got no problem with it. Yeah, he was picking up a lot of fouls, but that's Isaiah Stewart.
I want more minutes. I want more of it.
100%. And that's on him to not commit so many fouls. And I would agree with that. But at least with Isaiah Stewart, he gave you basically what he's given you this whole year. Duren and Asar, though, they've got to be better. They've got to stay out of foul trouble. And you certainly don't want someone like Jalen Duren. I would say he got outplayed by Mitchell Robinson. Can't have that happen.
Yeah, a role player.
I mean, we all know Mitchell Robinson was an X factor that we didn't really see, at least late in the year, and maybe a lot of us didn't take into account enough. But he showed up. He was big in the paint. He gave him some big minutes, gave him some rebounds, 3 of 3 from the floor. Jalen Duren's, like I said, got to be better. Got to be double-doubles the rest of the way. And for the record, I feel this way about Duren too. I'm not going to crucify him for one playoff game in which he wasn't great. But we need double-doubles. We need a strong presence in the paint the rest of the series, or else the Pistons are going to lose. But he will be better. I have full confidence in that.
And you're talking about one of their strengths. We've gone through these stats before, over and over and over again, about who the Detroit Pistons team has been, and is what gives you a lot of encouragement for them in this series. But they have to get back to them dictating. They have to get back to them controlling and doing what they know to do. Don't get sped up by the Knicks. I like this comment by Mike Hard 3-on-3. He says the Knicks were blitzing Cade, disrupting his rhythm was a number one priority in their game plan. And what did we hear all kind of? And I even heard this from some people close to situations in the media room and some of the scouts that are there, that they were planning to go man on man. I don't know what the Pistons necessarily were preparing for, but those blitzes absolutely threw them off, and they should have been prepared for it. But this is Tom Thibodeau. This is a series where we went in, and before that I said, I believe J.B. Bickerstaff is a better coach in this series. How he responds to those types of traps and how Cade Cunningham responds to those is going to play a lot into these narratives, because this is what we know. Ultimately, winning is going to be what cures all. How you show up in these types of situations is going to be what people remember most, no matter the totality of the season, no matter the All-Stars. Cade Cunningham does have to find a way to respond better to those blitzes, and this is where, from a strategy standpoint, his teammates have to show better. The strategy going in has to be, as soon as they do this, and the Pistons did this very well, back when they were going to work Pistons. I remember there being plays where whenever Chauncey was in his groove and it would send the double teams on the right corners, where he would like to shoot from that little hash mark that comes out, they would send a double. Rip would just run right behind the double. It's one of the most basic concepts that you learn from Pee Wee basketball. Cut and run. The weak side guy, cut. The strong side guy, run right behind the double, and if your person is the one that is double teaming, either roll or show yourself available. If you look back at the game, the Pistons didn't do that very well. When K got blitzed, you saw kind of people standing either 3-point line or in their position. This is where you want to get that action and that motion going, because I believe it helps the Pistons be able to better control that pace. And you know who does that well? Ron Holland. And he didn't get a lot of minutes. When Ron's out there and those double teams come, that boy is almost in your pocket to the point that you're like, bro, go away. He's like, yo, I want the ball. He shows well, and as soon as they swing it to him after those double teams and he sees that gap, he's to the rim. That's what you want to see out of Ron. That's what Asar does well too, but you didn't see it too many times.
Oh,
you want to see them do this. So they're going to have to show higher, because in this series, I've noticed both teams from a defensive standpoint are trying to make the team start their offense further beyond the 3-point line. You'll notice both teams are trying to make the point guard pick up the ball or pass it as soon as they get beyond half court. And those other players are going to have to show more effectively.
And that's what was something that I really noticed when watching the game, is Cade was getting blitzed a lot. And shout out to Tom Thibodeau and this Knicks defense. It worked.
They won the first chess match.
I was about to say, I think Tom Thibodeau heard us when we were saying, I think J.B. Bickerstaff might be the better coach. Not in game one, but JB, this is where you got to earn your faith and adjust. But when Cade was getting blitzed, when he was getting rid of the ball, way too many times you saw the offense just get stagnant, and people just would almost be hot potatoing it like they didn't know what to do. And that to me was a little bit concerning. That's where you kind of see just the type of usage that Cade Cunningham has, the type of ball handling ability that he has, that is just not really matched throughout this team. But you said it, Ron. Maybe this is a game where Ron Holland gets more minutes because he has more of that capability. We'll see. It's just, if Cade's, and I know Cade had 12 assists, so some of the time it worked, but if the Knicks are going to double team Cade, if they are just going to go at him, the Pistons have to make them pay more often than they did. But you also got to give credit to the Knicks. They were rotating. They were doing their job as well. That's a Tom Thibodeau defense. That's a lot of athletic players, athletic wings in particular, but if I'm the Knicks, I probably just start blitzing again until the Pistons prove that they can more effectively handle it.
Hey, look, the Knicks picked up 12 steals off of blitzing, Cade Cunningham and such off these Pistons. And then they got 9 blocks. But what was really disgusting, this one hurt, because the Pistons had a historic stretch this season at outscoring their opponents in 30 straight games. Bro, they got outscored. They got punked 62-46 in the paint. And they gave up almost 53% shooting from the floor. That's insane. This Pistons defense has been one of the top 3 defenses in the league since December 1st is top 5. Since February 1st is top 3. They have to get back to that. I want to see a little bit more of the grittiness. I thought that they responded well. I thought that they showed good character in the game for the first 3 quarters. But when it got time to the gritty, it wasn't as if we saw the Knicks just coming down and running sets and busting our tail. It was a lot of transition. It was a lot of hustle. It was a lot of Josh Hart getting out on the run. McBride diving on the floor. The things that we see when we see the Detroit Pistons this year win games, it was just like that. And when they beat the Knicks this year, it was those things. It was Beasley diving on the floor. It was those guys cutting. It was those guys dunking. It was those guys running out in transition. And the best parts of the Pistons against the Knicks in the first game was that. But they allowed the Knicks to effectively assume some of that identity. And a lot of that has to do with OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, McBride. I feel like I'm missing somebody. I know I'm missing somebody. But those other campaign, those are the role players who stepped up in a big spot. And Mitchell Robinson, he proved to be somewhat of an X factor. And this is where I get where Willie B's like, I want to see more. Because when we look at all the numbers concerning the paint, the Pistons got dominated.
Yeah, and a lot of that just has to do with, the paint. And that's where the Knicks, and I don't know how much they really care, how much they really played into it, but maybe they did. They did not play soft, at least in the fourth quarter. That's where I think a lot of people were a surprise. And all of the stats in which you can quantify being soft or being tough, the Knicks really had the edge in a game 1. And I don't think that that's something that's going to sit well with the Pistons or with JB Bickerstaff. And that's why I have full faith in the Pistons being able to bounce back and hopefully get a game 2. But before we one thing that I want to do as well, just so that we get it out of the way, and I know I did it in passing, sometimes you also just have to give credit to certain players. Like Cam Payne, I know during the watch party I was MFing him, but I also am like, you had yourself a playoff moment. Karl Anthony Towns. Yeah. Insane efficiency, 23 points, 11 rebounds, 6 stocks on 14 shots. Unbelievable. Jalen Brunson, even though I know
10 free throw attempts, though.
I was going to say,
5.
He's not a aesthetically pleasing player to watch. I know that people got kind of fed up with his flopping and foul baiting, but this is kind of what Jalen Brunson does. Jalen Brunson in the playoffs throughout his Knicks career, he'll usually give you about 30 and about 7 or 8 assists on lesser efficiency than what we're used to from him, but he gets buckets. And in the playoffs, sometimes you can afford to be a little bit less efficient because the game slows down, possession slows down, there's more premium on a defense. Mitchell Robinson, Josh Hart giving you a 13, 7, and 6 on 10 shots, a plus 20. That's a very Josh Hart-like game. The Knicks, especially in the fourth quarter, they dominated. But the Pistons, I just hope that this doesn't sit very well with them, and I know that it's not.
And it does sting because ultimately we know this. The star Cade Cunningham has to be what he's been all season. Over 30 points and 10 assists per game and 6 rebounds per game against the Knicks in the series. And in Madison Square Garden in particular, those numbers get closer to 34 and almost like 10 or 11 per game. He has to be more of that. Yeah. And I do. Everybody knows this, and I know Cade knows this. He has to tighten up. You said it. I've said it. He has to honestly value each and every one of these precious possessions because what really stings, just agitates me. I don't even think it's the biggest factor, but this one agitates me more than any other one. It's when you look at Jalen Brunson's turnovers. And nothing that if you want to talk about foul baiting, if you want to talk about he got too many free throws, nothing. Listen, my man had 1 turnover. And he's a high usage guy.
An 8-to-1 assist to turnover ratio is it's unheard of
in the playoffs against a team that plays physical, against one of the top steals teams. We're one of the top. We are I believe number 2 team at turning defense to offense off steals. The Knicks just all the way around. It's like they understood the value of playoff basketball in each possession. And I do believe that they're going to understand the value of absorbing some of these runs because the Pistons, bro, it's almost like a boxing match. They were really going toe-to-toe with the Knicks the entire game. Until fourth quarter, Cade sat, the Pistons had a lead, and the Knicks just took the game over from that time.
And this is where, and this isn't a backhanded compliment. This is actually more of just the progression of NBA teams. One thing that we know that the Knicks know how to do with, I think, worse and less talented teams is the Jalen Brunson, Villanova boys, like iteration of the Knicks the last couple of years, whether it's with or without Julius Randle, they know how to win first-round playoff series. And again, what do they want, a cookie for that? But at the end of the day, the Pistons need to get to that level. The Knicks know how to at least be competitive in the playoffs. Jalen Brunson has shown that he's not a playoff dropper. He just maybe is a little bit less efficient, but he's been really good for the most part. And that's what the Knicks that's what the Knicks know how to do. That's what the Pistons need to get to. And hope, like I said, game 2 is critical tonight. Need a W. I'm still feeling pretty confident, but
I'm feeling confident, but it's different. This is one where, we'll look at this game, and from a basketball standpoint, I love looking at this from a strategy thing. I love looking at what my team needs to do better, where they can clean up, and what they did well, and highlighting that. Because as a coach, I've been a coach, I've been a player, I've been coached by many different styles, and I know other people have been in these situations, whether even it's been mentorship. I know about some of your mentors that are high up in this media game. And you understand the different effectiveness at making sure it's proper critique with also proper foundation to bounce forward. That's where J.B. Bickerstaff has been really, really good, and he talked about that. I asked him, I said, how do you balance the emotion of the success you just had with the fact that you guys want more? And that's where the notion, he talked about all the passes that came through and all of the BS and how that's helped bond them. And you know that you're on the right trail because of the success you've had. But these guys are still really hungry, and this is where I do hope that this loss, I hope it bugs them, because it wasn't their identity. No. J.B. Bickerstaff told us we would turn on the tape by February and see Detroit Pistons basketball, and we saw that a lot. But in this one game, I'm hoping that they sit there, whether you played a bad game or not, we can live with that. My problem is when I see Chuckle Cheese say Hart gets shut down tonight, Thompson got to hit those layups. This is a double-edged sword. You know why? Because the only way you shut down Josh Hart, there wasn't running plays for him. It's if you out-hustle him. That's the issue. That's the part that hurts the most. We got out-pistoned. The way that we beat the Knicks all season,
pretty much,
we got out-pistoned, and that's the thing. So Asar Thompson missing the dunk, even Tim Hardaway dunking the ball and then it just popping out. Just there were some weird things that happened. I still think he should have got a foul call, but whatever. There were some things that happened, and you want to see the Pistons put the game more in their control so those things have less of an effect. Asar Thompson has to be more of what Josh Hart was. We want to see you want to see Dennis Schroeder have more an effect on a game than a campaign. These are some of those intricate things, and you want to make sure that to shut down your Mitchell Robinsons, who a couple times nobody did the textbook, bro. The guy who coached, I coached like high schoolers and college players for camps. I'm sitting here screaming like, put a body on Mitchell Robinson. How many rebounds did he get? And then that putback dunk where no one boxed out. Yeah, these are the things I'm hoping just chews away at this young Pistons team who realizes they let a game slip away.
And that's what you said. The steals, the blocks, the rebounds, the hustle stats, those all favored the Knicks. I thought what you said about Josh Hart, and in terms of, the Knicks might not run a single play for him, but he's just one of those special kind of guards that rebounds, that hustles, that just does all of the little things. Every single team in the NBA would kill for a guy like a Josh Hart. You just got to work harder. You just got to want it more. But the Pistons, they know what they're up against now. They know what they did wrong. They know that this isn't the same Knicks team that they were used to beating regularly this regular season. The playoffs are a different animal. They're getting a little bit more healthy with Mitchell Robinson. And I know the thing that shocked me the most, which probably shouldn't because it was a home game, and role players tend to do that in the playoffs and home games, is that the Knicks bench, you got great bench performances from Campaign and Mitchell Robinson. You could argue that Beasley and Stewart did as well, but you can't play the Knicks bench to a draw. You've got to win that bench matchup, and hopefully they do this game. I want to see more minutes from Ron Holland, like you were saying.
Yeah, I definitely do. He's been that kind of energizer several times. We've literally texted about it. We've posted about it like, man, Pistons could really use his energy right now. They put him in there. He's a difference maker. But when you look at this thing, you realize J.B. Bickerstaff really favored the minutes towards the vets and those young players. They got decent minutes. but I want to see them have a little bit more. So a lot of that's going to be on them and how they learn how to defend in this playoffs and learn how to respond, honestly, to the playoff pressure. But what up, no voice of reason? You've heard all this conversation. You've heard and seen the chat. You got your eyes on it all. Like you're the architect from the Matrix. Talk to us. Talk to us, because we got a big game tonight. 7:30, Detroit Pistons with game number 2 against the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. We've seen K dance there, man. But you hear the discourse, even us up here. It's emotional, bro, because we know that there's a lot to believe in this team beyond this, but there's still a lot more on their plate right now.
Yeah, I definitely understand that as well, too. Pistons have a huge bounce back tonight. I think that's what they need to focus and channel in on, that Rasheed Wallace energy, especially for this game, too, because nothing's going to be easy, as you've seen before in game 1, obviously. Cade especially. I mean, I've seen the scratches on the man's arm. You're not giving this man any calls at all, but credit to New York Knicks as well, too. I mean, Cat, maybe he's not as soft as we all were thinking, but as I said on Friday, game 1 is going to be a game of nerves. Everyone's out there just a little bit nervous. And, you've seen that in the first quarter as well, too. Knicks got off to a hot start, but the Pistons bounced back. And you know what? Just down the line in that fourth quarter, I don't know what went wrong. This just seemed like an odd game for them to be playing out there as well, too. Duren, you can't have single digits, man. You can no longer have single digits. We need you to, as you said, stop playing on that soft shit and, you know what, step up to the challenge right here. And, box out Cat. Just do something, man. I need more efficiency from you as well. But, Cade, as far as it goes, continue doing what you're doing. Don't loosen up on any focus that you have. But this team, everyone around you just needs to step up. You cannot have another night where Brunson goes off and gives you 34. This just can't happen.
And I think that's actually I'll start
Voice
with
of reason.
I'll start with you, because I want us to give a couple of keys and give our predictions for tonight's game before we move on to the Tigers, who had themselves a pretty nice weekend themselves. But JB, who wins tonight? Just give me a score.
Pistons win tonight. I'm probably flipping the score on the Knicks. Give me 123 to 102.
Oh, a 21-point victory.
Yeah.
Wow.
That would.
Belt to ass.
Oh, my God.
I like that one.
I mean, I hope you're right. If they really want to make a statement, if they really want to get a stranglehold back on that series, any win will give them an advantage. But if they really want to make a statement, blowing out the Knicks at Madison Square Garden, that's bold, man. But hopefully we come back tomorrow and you're like, I told you, please make that happen.
What about Willie B?
I expect the Pistons to be a little bit more fierce since they got the jitters out the way. That's just first playoff game in a while. Now everything's out the window. Okay, let's get to fighting. Let's get to scrapping. Let's start biting them right in that ass. Pause. And as for them, I think they will win by at least 10. It will be a gritty game on this game too. And I guarantee you, I think Jalen Duren will step out. I think Isaiah Stewart going to step out on fire, try to play smart, will be an agitator against Carl Anthony Towns. Somebody got to use Arsuri Thompson's got to need to find a way to guard Jalen Brunson. You 8 inches. He's 5'11". You 6'8". Respectfully, because Jalen Brunson know how to use his mid range. Use your length, use your size, and move your feet. Use your quickness to get it off here. Jalen Brunson is great in the mid range. You take that away from him, you get a win. And for Tim Hardaway Jr., they do what vets do. They produce, and Malik Beasley, they produce what they do. So in that case, they need to go out there and go hard at them.
I feel that, and for me, man,
Thanks for the pitch.
I got 118-111 victory. One in which the Detroit Pistons take this one, and it's known. Sometimes in a blowout, you can come up with reasons why they lost. Hey, maybe this player had a bad game. This team just didn't meet this pressure right. I believe this is one where the Pistons kind of, when you see the players tussling for the ball after the whistle and no one wants to give it up, I think this is one where the Pistons kind of take it and they flex a little bit more than we saw them do in that first game. I saw them play somewhat tough, but I didn't see the fight that played to the line. Like, remember when J.B. Bickerstaff said, our team is going to be the one that pushes the other team to the brink of going overboard. We know how to play this way. I just didn't see them push that way. So did I see them, battle a little bit? Yeah, but I want to see a return of like what Willie B is saying, that grit, that fight, that being on the edge, not They got 3 technicals in that game, and they were effectively just 3 seconds in the key. Like, if you're gonna get a technical, I'm trying to see the edginess. Where's the one who's barking? Where's the the Detroit? Where is that stuff where K's going out and we're clapping up? You don't want to see K get ejected, but that's what I'm saying. That type of fight where you have the other team having to think twice. But I didn't see that in the first game. I didn't see that on either side of the court. The Knicks look comfortable. So get back to making the other team feel uncomfortable and let this be a game in which down the stretch you guys are in control. Why? We've seen this happen 3 games. Each and every time they beat the Knicks, it's been that way. The Pistons took a stranglehold of the game with the way that we just saw the Knicks win, and I do believe they're going to do that in game 2. And they're going to win it 118-111, really securing this thing in the last about 4 minutes of the game, 3 minutes of the game. We're going to know, all right, Pistons got this in the bag.
Yeah, there are a couple of things that I think the Pistons have to do better tonight. One, of course, is rebound. Rebound for sure. I don't want Mitchell Robinson coming in and looking like a star 6-man big man. I don't want to see, and I know Jalen Duren's minutes were hindered by his foul trouble. First off, don't get in foul trouble. Second off, I need Jalen Duren to out-rebound Karl-Anthony Towns. I can't have Karl-Anthony Towns having 20-point double-doubles and Jalen Duren giving you singles. I need more from everybody who maybe didn't play up to their game. I need more from Duren. I need more from Asar Thompson. I want more from him in terms of guarding Jalen Brunson. You know what? I'm calling for it tonight. Because Brunson's playoff career is a little bit less efficient than his regular season career, tonight I'm calling for Asar Thompson to really put Jalen Brunson in jail some of the time, because you can only do that so much. Jalen Brunson gets as much or as many shots as points. He has more points or the same amount of points, more shots than points. I'll say that. He has more shots than points, and he turns the ball over multiple times. And with Cade Cunningham, need more efficiency, need more from him and his team in terms of handling the double teams. And I think that they'll get it. I think that the Knicks' game plan worked to perfection. When you got a team like the Pistons who were 44 wins, when you got a player like Cade Cunningham who's going to be second-team All-NBA, you got to adjust. When you have a coach in J.B. Bickerstaff who it should win Coach of the Year, whether he gets it or not.
He's a finalist.
Yeah. You've got it's all about adjustments. Make those adjustments. The young guys got to play better. Cade's got to play better, and they just have to be tougher in the post, and you can't Jalen Brunson needs to feel it a little bit more.
I agree with that. With the Asar thing, I believe the one strategy that you look at here is how much do you play him on Jalen Brunson, understanding the foul trouble he could get in, versus the effectiveness you could have. Maybe if you play him in a position to be more of a help side defender. Like I do miss help side defender Asar a little bit, but because if Brunson's still going to get his, despite Asar running around the court, we lost a lot of effectiveness from Asar. He looked a little bit tired. We didn't see the springiness and the energy. And so I know they have won games in the past with Asar chasing him around the court, but I do wonder in a 7-game series, if it just strategy-wise, I think in game 2 you run back with what you believe got you here. But then when you have to really start making those inner tweaks, that's where I do wonder, do you lessen Asar's defensive usage to try and increase his team defense and his overall offensive usage?
That's an interesting one. And another thing that I didn't bring up quite yet is I said it at the beginning, and we haven't really touched on it as much since. I don't necessarily think the defense on Karl-Anthony Towns was always bad. Shout out to Kat for also being a heck of a playmaker, too. I hope that doesn't continue. But Karl-Anthony Towns was making a lot of tough shots. I thought Isaiah Stewart did a fine job for the most part. But Kat he was big time. And the thing about Kat is everybody that could possibly guard him except for Duren, you could do everything right and Kat can still shoot over you. But I do not think that Karl-Anthony Towns goes 10 for 14 tonight. I don't. I think his efficiency lessens a little bit. And that could be a big factor as well. Like everything that the Pistons do for the most part in terms of strategy-wise can be pretty similar. But if Karl-Anthony Towns misses some of those tough shots instead of makes them, it could be all the difference. There's a lot of different ways that the Pistons can go about this. But I don't think I gave my prediction. Pistons 110, Knicks 106. We're going to be sweating this one, but the Pistons get the job done. Because if they don't, it's going to be real tough. Yeah.
Hey, and you know what? The Detroit Tigers, they had an opportunity to go and sweep the series. They had a great opportunity. Man, but they fall just short. Just short. Scooble, I thought he didn't put up necessarily his best stuff, but he did enough for the Tigers to get the win. And is that enough for this Tiger squad as they are marching on with, I believe, reset expectations? They fall to 13-9 on the season after a 4-3 loss in extra innings to the Kansas City Royals. And I know that there's some people, Flannel Sam, who have largely been in this hobby watch. I wonder what side of the room they're on today.
I wonder.
I wonder, but I got to tell you about Feldman. Feldman Chevrolet of Novi, Detroit's #1 Chevrolet dealer and the Chevrolet Dealer of the Year for 6 consecutive years.